So my name is Lisa Cavallari, and I'm the co-chapter head along with Chris Carsley of Seattle and CAIA chapter. Unfortunately, Chris is not with us tonight, but we do have some other Seattle and CAIA chapter board members in attendance, and I would just like to embarrass them by asking them to raise their hand here, and Cecilia. So thank you. Just very briefly before I introduce this evening's guests, I just wanted to just review what CAIA is and what we do, just very briefly. So founded in 2002, the Chartered Alternative Investment Analyst Association is the global authority in alternative investment education. The CAIA Association is best known for the CAIA Charter, an internationally recognized financial credential, and the gateway to a network of more than 10,000 alternative investment leaders in more than 95 countries. The Seattle chapter was actually founded went from a virtual chapter to boots on the ground chapter thanks to here and a collection of individuals that started that in March of 2017. So we're very happy to be in our third year of existence as a chapter. There are over 30 chapters with 10,000 members across the globe, as you can see, and we focus on a number of different alternative investments in terms of asset class. The asset class distribution is up here on the slide, and most of our events cater to a specialty or a specific investment in one of those asset classes. These are some of our academic partnerships in the Americas, and we try to partner with local universities where chapters are located to try to bolster and get the word out about the CAIA Charter. These are some of the partnerships also that we have. Here in Seattle, we do partner occasionally with the CFA Society of Seattle. They've been very helpful in the sense that they've been very cooperative when we bring together other investment professionals for specific events. I would encourage you to all keep October 1st, I believe, is that here the date when the Remitly CEO will be speaking at a joint CFA-CAIA luncheon at the Rainier Club. So look for that to be posted on our CAIA website soon. It also, at this point, is probably good to mention that the CAIA Association is actually engaged in a pilot program right now, such that CFA members who already have their CFA charter are actually fast-tracked, if you will, and only would be required to sit for the second level of the CAIA test in order to gain the CAIA charter. If you or any of your friends are interested in that, I would encourage you to explore the CAIA website for more information on that. The pilot is probably going to be going on until 2021. So now on to the main event. But before I do that, I would like to thank K&L Gates for the use of this absolutely gorgeous space. And we have Margaret and Charles here, who are partners at K&L Gates. We're very grateful for your support. So now on to our distinguished panelists. I want to make sure I introduce them properly, so I can actually find their bios. We're very fortunate tonight to have so many really distinguished panelists that are experts in this space, share their knowledge and expertise, and also engage with this audience. Katrina Glogowski, I almost did that correctly, but forgive me for tripping over that. It will be our moderator this evening, and she's an attorney, an angel investor, and a cannabis entrepreneur. Katrina has presented at numerous events related to cannabis to further the mission of educating individuals and businesses about investing in this rapidly expanding industry. Katrina has participated in various radio, television, and streaming media projects to normalize the cannabis industry, and we're grateful for her stewardship this evening. So thank you, Katrina. Adam Greenburg is, and forgive me, I forgot Adam to ask how you pronounce Iunu? Iunu, so forgive me for that slip up there. Adam Greenburg has a passion to solve fundamental challenges and brings a clear path and vision of how Iunu will be a major player in agricultural solution. After gathering perspective from traveling through 4 other continents, he founded Iunu in 2013 as he saw how precision agriculture could enhance greenhouse production. Adam earned his degree in finance as well as entrepreneurship from the University of Washington. He has spent time at Amazon, but ultimately found his passion in leading innovation. He co-founded a water company that won Forbes 30 Under 30 and assisted in other startups, including Y Combinator and Techstars. He also helps students and new entrepreneurs and is a frequent guest lecturer for organizations such as the U.S. Farm Bureau, the University of Washington, and Seattle University. Josh Kincaid, and Josh, I would have to ask you, forgive me, where you are currently located. I have down here Candy, is that?
Candy is a client of mine.
Is a client, okay.
Yeah, Seattle Superchronics is my business.
Okay. Thank you. Josh was a securities risk analyst managing a $650 million fund. His experience with the regulatory environment of finance has helped him navigate a myriad of regulatory challenges in the cannabis industry. Josh has been connecting with individuals and businesses within all facets of the supply chain since his internship at the World Trade Center. He keeps his hand on the pulse of the industry, utilizing technology and data from Headset, New Frontier Data, and the Cannabis Alliance. He shares this information with the industry through his cannabis business podcast called The Talking Hedge. Josh is also an advisor to Taboo USA Inc., has a degree in international business management from Western Washington University, and a master's in finance from the City University of Seattle. And last but certainly not least, Pelly, who's with Cultiva Law. Aaron is a founding member of Cannabis Defense Coalition Legal Committee and a lifetime member of the Normal Legal Committee. In addition to representing cannabis clients and their strategies, Aaron has also earned a reputation for effectively handling high-profile litigation, defending both individual and corporate clients. Aaron has been repeatedly named a rising star by Super Lawyers and top 100 trial lawyers by the National Trial Lawyers. Thank you so much again for joining us today. And with that, I will turn it over to Katrina and to just press the button to speak after it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to CAIA's Cannabis Investing Education event. I would like to start by saying we are filming this event. The camera is pretty obviously located. If you do not want to appear on film, please step behind the camera. I'm going to start with a few questions. I want this to be participatory, so if you have a question, please feel free to interject. I have a few talking points and then we'll get to open the floor and have you get all of your cannabis investing questions answered. I'm going to go alphabetically and I'm going to start with Adam Greenburg. Adam, can you please describe Iunu's efforts of raising money as a company supporting the cannabis industry with a specific focus on the challenges and opportunities Iunu face?
This goes on. Alright, so what it comes down to is when you are a technology company that we are, so we're for the greenhouse operating system, it's a transcend the apex between cannabis and produce and floriculture and then also technology. There's certain people who have certain funds in which they can't invest based on their LPs. So we are VC backed, and some of the challenges we're faced include such as you have to be prepared to ask that question up front, and oftentimes that means they have to go back to their LPs. So if you are disqualified up front, you want to know up front, otherwise you waste a lot of time. And so it's all about getting to know and getting to the mentality of you're always leaving. If you're always leaving, you're always getting to know. You get to understand how risk-averse the funds are and whether or not the LPs will improve it. So all it takes is an email. The ones that did it, 100% of them got approved. So it just gives you some context to whether or not they're willing to go out more, and you need to know that up front. In addition, when it comes to some of the challenges of raising a decision, is the risk profile, depending on who you talk to, can be definitive or negative. And so it comes down to like if you look at the public markets and you look at Canadian LPs, they're getting a huge multiple, and they're far smaller than the largest MSO. Sorry, MSO is a multi-state operator. So purely, it's the largest multi-state operator, the largest cannabis company in the world. And it's based on the United States, it was valued far less than most of the Canadian companies. The reason for that is political risk. So, depending on who you talk to, depends on whether or not they find this as a huge opportunity or whether they find this a huge risk. If you follow the trends and patterns, in fact, this is following a lot of what prohibition did, in fact, the alcohol, and following the pattern very closely, the evidence is very clear. So, from the purely to the Canadian LP perspective, the valuations are far depressed. You look at the United States operators, but then you look at the flip side of the fundraising, in fact, for us anyways, in the technology side, and we're also not the actual operator, we're profit section back there, so we're actually becomes a tailwind. So it depends on how you frame it. You have to really start to segment out how you fit in the value chain, how you fit in the market, whether or not you're helping the industry, whether or not you're actually the main cultivator, whether or not you're just passing through, or whether or not you're insuring it. So you just have to do your own value chain map, and that helps clarify for the people who are investing in you and make that very upfront. So there's a lot of the challenges we have to overcome. At the end of the day, we raised close to $15 million, and things are good. So we're VC backed as well as some operator backed. Some of our biggest customers invested in us as well, so that it ended up being a blessing long term because you get the right partners. So it helps you actually segment out people who would be a good partner. But at the same time, you did talk to probably 100 different people that you get through.
Thank you, Adam. What I heard you say is being a cannabis adjacent company and raising money is a real pain in the butt. That's what I heard. But keep at it, and keep knocking those doors, and eventually you will find the right partner. Thank you, Adam. Josh, my question for you is, where do you see the opportunities in cannabis, and how can someone who's interested in investing in cannabis find those opportunities?
It's a really good question, Katrina. I think if you break it down to retail investors, the average Joe, from an accredited investor, the regular retail investor still has an opportunity with an exchange traded fund. They had a pretty good ramp up from January through March. I think the ETF-NG Alternative Artist Index, ticker symbol NJ, was up about 45+% for those 90 days. So anytime anything goes parabolic like that, you should expect investors to pull some cash off the top. So the 30% pullback we've seen since March is, I think, normal, but it's still an opportunity. And if that's not enough risk for you, you can take a 2x leverage or inverse ETF, a couple of them that are new to the US. So what that is a 2x. Anytime the market moves up, then your respective equity position would move twice as far, or if you were bullish, or if you wanted to hedge your bet on an inverse, then it would go down twice as fast. So I think that's a pretty good opportunity, and for a place to research and find that, I'm going to leave that up to your financial advisor. For an accredited investor, there's three traditional kind of main investments that you can look at. You can look at production, which if you haven't done that already, I advise you not to, because commodities as a price always plummets, right? So don't grow anything. If you are, however, you already have some property, plant, or equipment, I was explaining earlier that maybe that opportunity lies in a rare cannabinoid. Some of you guys have heard about CBD. Constellation Brands, $4 billion invested up in Canada for CBD beverage, made it pretty much an everyday headline. And so I think that's being played out. There's a bubble there. And so with that creates opportunity. And so what I'm seeing is the next wholesale wave is CBG. And you don't really need to know what that is, except that it's a rare cannabinoid. There are other things like CBN and THCV. THCV is an anti-munchie, and there's opportunities with that too. And so I would look at maybe a rare cannabinoid if you are already cultivating as a way to increase your margins. The next maybe opportunity is to manufacture. You can leverage your return on assets with other people and take that derivative, whether it's a distillate or isolate or full plant extract. You can then make the brand, the finished product, and then sell that. I think that's a pretty good opportunity. With the intent on selling them, obviously, right, to the retailer, which is your third opportunity. MSOs, the multi-state operators, the #1 investment vehicle in 2019. MedMen has had a lot of publicity, mostly good, except for recently. So there's your risk. There's future opportunities too, I think, with the second largest investment vehicle being data. And the subset within that is technology. So if you have an opportunity for accurate dosing to be able to take a method or consumption and it have the same repeated effects over and over, that's essentially what people are looking for, very similar to a glass of wine bills can happen at the time. And so there's a company based out of Israel that's working with Paulsbo company on a vaporizer, and although it's chunky in size, it's neat because you can dial it in. If you only want 5 milligrams, it knows. And then you can save it and adapt to your tolerance as time goes on. And so I think with technology and grabbing all of that data and then using that for accurate dosing is going to be that next opportunity. Coupled with the third largest investment vehicle, which is a marijuana lounge, people need a place to use these devices, right? And so we're seeing a lot of states and cities come on board, from Alaska to Nevada, Colorado, New Jersey, West Hollywood, that's going to go live in September with marijuana lounges, even though California has a bill, they're not waiting. Denver had pilot programs, but Colorado is going to move forward. Oregon is already moving forward, and they all have clean indoor air acts that they're bypassing now with private clubs. Washington State being an exemption with felony to operate and maintain a cannabis lounge makes it very, very difficult. But yet, that's a real estate investment trust or REIT play, I think, because you don't know what the revenue is going to be on these cafes. If you can't sell on site, how are you going to make money, especially if you can't sell food? But I still think that that's an opportunity down the road, even though the commercial market has somewhat of a bubble. I think it's frothy, but it provides some opportunities nonetheless. In terms of where to find that information, there's some publications you could Google and they'll send you some pitch decks, whatever, or you can just subscribe to the Talking Hedge at thetalkinghedgepodcast.com.
Shameless plug there, but the cannabis cafes, the consumption cafes, is an interesting play, because if you have a cruise ship here in Pioneer Square, downtown Seattle, they get off and they go to a hotel, what do they want to do? Oh, I want to try cannabis. Okay, they're going to buy it. Where can they smoke it? They can't. The Hilton in the Westin, they don't want you smoking there. You can't smoke in a bar, can't smoke in a park, can't smoke in a rental car. Cannabis consumption cafes.
I love Canada. They're legal there.
The next question that I have is to Aaron, and I saved the zinger for Aaron. Aaron, what advice can you give to an investor in the emerging cannabis markets on the changing regulatory environment? Let me give you an example. Fat Panda is making gummies all day long, and then the LCB comes along and says, no gummies. Their whole business model is terrible. So how does an investor navigate the changing regulatory environment?
Well, I guess my first bit of advice, whenever, especially if I'm meeting more than one person, but always if I'm giving legal advice, is to start out by saying that everything that we're planning to discuss here today is illegal. We are planning a RICO, and in doing so, we're committing federal crimes. So if you're the kind of investor that's prepared to commit federal crimes, then it would be on the tip of the spear, which most people are my clients. Then let's talk more. But it's important that you do know that, because as a lawyer, I have to tell you that, and that's what my bar has also told me I have to tell you, is that, you know, even though we have a conflict of law, the federal law saying one thing, the state law saying something else, we have to start just with the general threshold question, do you want to commit crimes against the federal government? And if you're crazy enough to do that, then you're probably crazy enough to have a pretty interesting business model. You're willing to live on the tip of the spear, you're willing to take these kind of chances and differentiate yourself, then you're already kind of there, you're already kind of crazy. And so you were taking a massive risk coming in, whether it was going to be putting weed gummy bears, or whether it was going to be trying to open a consumption cafe, even though they're already legal, which I know 2 people who tried to do that already. So some people, they come into this industry, which is also interesting in that we also have the inverse relationship. Here in Washington, but in some states, where we do have CBDs, which have been federally legalized, but we have states that still say that it's illegal. So I get phone calls from clients that are like, well, it's legal federally, and I'd like to get it from Washington to New York. And so now I have to draw them a path of what states they can go through where it's federally legal and state legal, but not state illegal. So, I mean, there's no real answer, a great answer anyways, for some when you're constantly shifting sands, right? All I can, you know, my hope is when I talk to people a lot of times is that they're willing to accept that I can tell them that they've got nothing baby. So that if they come in and they say, you know, I've got this great idea, and I can, you know, honestly just tell them, like, that is a great idea, but that is also the 10th time I've heard that idea in the last, you know, 8 weeks. So I sometimes, because it's an emerging industry and people are talking about it as openly or as often with each other, sometimes people are surprised to know how many other people have already got their idea. And so that can be the other side.
That's why I hired a lawyer. Aaron, my next question for you. This one's going to be so easy after the other road. Federal legalization, good or bad?
Well, it's a big ask. So, like a lawyer, I have to have the best I can, right? It's going to be variables. But yeah, I think federal legalization is going to be really bad for all the people that are involved in cannabis currently, but not because it will create massive consolidation, and by creating consolidation, you're going to have competition. Right now, the reason that I don't have to compete with Cannabis is because they're not interested in being in the cannabis industry. And because of that, I can have a firm and have multiple attorneys work for me, and arguably be the only game in town. There's 3 other firms I think that I compete with, and I'm dealing with clients where I can open firms in 3 different states now. That's really great for me, but once you federally legalize it, and I have to compete with Cannabis, it's going to feel like tougher. And I think that same thing true for my clients. My clients are all mom and pop industry folks. There's not a lot of millionaires in the cannabis industry. There's a lot of thousandaires, but there's a few, and it's good for them. But even in California, we have a lot of cottage industries. And I think that once you get multinational corporations involved, it's going to change, and that will happen when we get that legalized.
I agree with that. My personal opinion is federalization, we're too soon. We need to allow the hop to get established and then federalize. So we'll see. Early next year. I have a question.
Yeah, along the lines of federalization, does anyone have a timeline? I mean, is this completely dependent on who's in the White House, who controls Congress? What are you, the professionals, thinking?
Let me repeat the question. The question is, what is the timeline for federal legalization? Yeah?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to start predicting politics. I've been terrible at that so far for the last 10 years in predicting what's going to happen politically. But what I can say is that I was sitting at Unfest, and I said about 5 more years in federal legal, and he said, oh, that's horrible. I've been saying that since 1974. There's only guy who's been an activist. I thought that was great, because he probably has been. 1970, like, people were just 5 years away from this turning into the corner. So, I don't know, 5 years.
Right now, cannabis is legal in one way, shape, or form in 43 out of the 50 states. Which state do you think is going to be the last one to fall?
I'll go on record and say that I think legalization federally will happen within 18 months to 4 to 5 years max before the next presidential term in 2024. And that's just from the lens of which I look through everything, which is the kaleidoscope of finance. You're going to see a correction in commercial and residential housing. You're going to see a correction in all of the indices on the stock market, as well as the debt, the bond market. And so I think cannabis is going to be that financial hope that Illinois and all these other broke states that have no pensions and are struggling. I think that finance is going to be the reason that legalization happens, but it won't be the federal legalization that you're thinking. It'll be kicking the can down the road in the form of the STATES Act, which is an acronym that I believe stands for Strengthening the 10th Amendment through Entrusting States. And so that allows each state to create their own laws without federal prosecution. So I think that's the way that they're going to implement federal legalization.
And Adam, I return to you. What state is going to be the last to fall?
So you just told me there's only 7 left. So you know the 7 left out there.
I'm going to guess Alabama. I'm guessing
It's going to be West Virginia or
Idaho.
Alabama would make sense. I see Idaho falling because they have a large greenhouse production there. So I think the infrastructure that already used to have an easier chance of pushing through Idaho than Ohio.
I agree. There's a lot of agriculture in Idaho, which brings me to my next question. There's a lot of price pressure in this industry, especially for the farmer, which in the industry we call a producer. How can the producer really compete on a price point when the price keeps falling?
In this state, or what are the specifics of a specific scenario for a state?
Let's start with Washington.
So in Washington, there's a double flip that you'll see the pattern play out in other geographies where the first crash happens and everyone freaks out, and then the second crash happens, and now you get sort of price parity where the state sort of normalizes. Most people don't produce at that level unless they can be profitable, so you'll lose about a third of all the companies that start that state when they legalize. Usually you'll see people build out their financial models with appropriate price points, and it ends up plummeting to almost nothing. So it is a commodity unless you have a mom-and-pop brand. So you're going to see the large commoditization of brands. So the price point where you see that side, you'll see the Bud Lights, if you will, and you'll see the what's a brewery there with a niche Dogfish Head, or I guess it's no longer matter as long as it is, so it's all got bought out. But anyways, you get the beer or the microbrew, you get the massive, you do not get the middle one. That's true of every industry these days. So consolidation, price points dropping. If you want to make money in cultivation in a medium to small, you should stay small. We're seeing people who are 3 to 4 people and they have a very high-end brand, and that's what they do really well, and that allows them to get a far higher price point. They're very niche, and they can pull down the $150,000 to $300,000 a year in profit take home, and that's what they're excited to do for the family mom-and-pops. If you want to go really large, just like you see Washington, your prices keep going lower and lower and lower because it's commodity, and you're going to see the differentiators in that branding and that marketing, and it comes down to relationships and distribution. So if you hit all your distribution channels and you can build something that's relatable as a brand, a lot of consumers don't know the difference. So you're going to see that sort of mass commoditization. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. I think a lot of folks got in the cannabis industry early on in the game thinking, I'll grow it and they'll buy it. And that's just not playing out. You have to have marketing, you have to have distribution, you have to have some business acumen in order to run a business. and cannabis most certainly is a business.
According to NJ Business Daily, 46% of producers think that their differentiation is that their product is better than others, which is a question of differentiation.
The problem with that is the average consumer can't really tell the difference, and I have a question here.
So I guess I don't know if I'm asking the right question, but I'm guessing if it's federally allowed, does that mean then whoever has the best soil or best climate will be the main producer? And if that's the case, where in the U.S. would be the best for growing?
Let me repeat the question. The question is, if federalization occurs, how is the market going to play out? Is it going to be to have the best soil, the best production, or is it going to be something else? Anyone?
You're going to see the mass production move outdoors, and you're going to see the niche stay indoors. You're going to see a lot of the indoor warehouse turn greenhouses because it's a lower cost structure and electricity. You might as well use the sun. A lot of those states, you'll see Arizona will be heavy glass house. You'll see California, because there's already a big infrastructure there for it. But outdoors, follow the cotton, follow the tobacco, and do with tobacco companies who centralize their production. You're going to see a lot of the same things. And so you don't really care about quality of that mass production and outdoors and extracting that in ways that it should become either tobacco or cotton, and a lot of the geographic areas work really well. Especially if you don't care about quality of extract, because then you can get rid of the things. There's high humidity, for example, outdoors in Florida, like that. High humidity often leads to mildew crops. But if you extract, you guys don't care, then you can extract out the mildew. And so that's sort of the large production companies who follow cotton, and more specifically, if you follow tobacco, you see a lot of the outdoor production will end up being in terms of glass house infrastructure. To repeat myself, there's probably a lot of Arizona, a lot of California, a lot of places where there's a lot of sun, and a lot of knowledge base that is already infrastructure with the greenhouses and the square feet to produce
So yesterday I just covered a podcast topic on the top 4 states right now, according to Marijuana Venture Magazine article, which covered Massachusetts, which I think is because there's 5 main colleges in Massachusetts, pretty good platform to start something to. And then Colorado, mostly because it's a mature state, vertically integrated opportunity, so you can be an owner from seed to sale, which is important, by the way, because what we've seen there is they have lower taxes and higher prices, whereas in Washington, what we're seeing with the separation of ownership between the producers and processors and retailers is that we have higher taxes and yet the lowest prices, which makes Washington State the most competitive place, probably amongst all of the states. And so that kind of presents a little bit of an issue, I guess, for us.
The one thing you keep saying federally legal, that's one option. Another option is just to leave it to the states. So those are 2 very different things. So when you leave it to the states, and you have the state regulators opposed to saying that the feds have decided it's legal everywhere, 2 very different scenarios end up running out. So if you just leave it to the states, you're no longer going to have the centralized, not nearly centralized food expect. The states are going to try to protect their own communities, and so isolation policy then takes into effect because they want to make their taxes and their dollars are all in their states and they go back to their economies. So there's 2 different form factors that can take, and so to delineate the 2, I was answering your question around if it were the federal government were to say that he decided it was legal everywhere, as opposed to if it's left to the states, you're going to have very different outcomes.
By the way, the other 2 states on that report were Florida, which I'm not sure because of the humidity factor, although they're, I think, the second or third largest state by population. And then California is the 4th, and that makes sense to me. They're the 5th largest GDP in the world. But in the eventuality that it is federally legal, then you have to start looking at the international play. So I have clients in Canada that have 10,000 acres in Montana and 124,000 hectares in Brazil. That's 300,000 acres. I don't know anybody who has that kind of land. So when we bring that through Puerto Rico and start distributing it with a 4% corporate tax cap, who can compete with us? Nobody. So if you don't have an entity in Puerto Rico when you're in CP, you're not going to be around for very long. When it becomes a THC.
My response to that comment is cannabis is an agricultural crop. Think of the lowly tomato. When you go into Safeway and you buy a tomato, do you know the brand of that tomato? Oh, it's all about brand, I want that. And you don't know the name of the guy who grew your tomato. You might have little baby tomatoes, you might have Roma tomatoes, you might have heirloom tomatoes, you might have tomatoes on the vine. But every single one of those tomatoes was produced for less than $1 a gram cost of goods sold. They have to transport it, they have to get it to Safeway, Safeway has to sell it, and there still has to be a profit in there. So there's a thought in the cannabis industry that your cost of goods sold for cannabis needs to be approximately $1 a gram. How are you going to do that? In upstate New York, where it's cold. So now you have to have electricity, you have to have water, you have to have buildings, you have to have labor, you have to have packaging, you have to have tax, you have to have lawyers, you have to have security, you have to have video cameras, you have to have point of sale equipment for $1. Are you going to grow cannabis in upstate New York? Or are you going to throw it on the ground and cross your fingers in some backwoods California federal land that you squatted on? That's what you're competing against. So when you start thinking about federal legalization, how is the cannabis industry going to get to $1 a gram? It's going to be very difficult. Which brings me to my next question, which is interstate sales. The MSOs, we've heard, multi-state operators, this licensing play is all about trying to get the cost of goods sold down. You have one brand, you have one package designer, you have one distribution agreement. I'd like to hear from the panel on the opinion of whether or not these MSOs and multi-state brands, big brands that you all know, are going to be the future of the industry, like the Bud Lights, or are we really going to see localized brands?
I think the next wave, I think it was already mentioned, is going to be consolidation. So there's a higher valuation to companies in Canada because of the access and speculation. As soon as that happens in the US and people start investing in companies here and that speculation reaches a bubble, then people will start looking at other opportunities. So I think that multi-state operators are a way to go, but I think that with first mover advantages, there will be some consolidation. And so with companies that are looking to have, that first mover advantage, where they're not one-trick ponies. These guys have a lot of ideas. They want to take that money and invest it into a new idea. So unless they want a legacy, some do, but they're going to be kind of the Larry's handimark in a world of 7-Elevens. And so in order to stay relevant, I think a lot of these first, mover advantages with the West Coast are going to sell out and then take that money and invest it into some new ancillary product. But we haven't seen, there hasn't been a lot of investment capital into innovative products. There's been a lot in the last 5 years. There hasn't been a lot of products. So I think we're going to see consolidation as an explosion happens, and then there's going to be a forced consolidation or capitulation after that.
Without federalization, I don't know that we can pull it off. Everything that's being done that our MSOs are essentially, they're either straw men that are being created or they're licensing agreements that are being created. Because the states have such ridiculous restrictions. I mean, in Washington, we restrict cannabis like you told me. They're serious. They have a separation of church and state. They're producing processors. They have recreation. We go around 5 stores. They eliminate in so many ways. Consolidations are all but possible. And then you go to other states where it's like, well, you have to be a resident. Not all these states, but a majority of them require residency because what they were doing when they originally created the passage of the law was trying to bring in the people that are committing it criminally to come into the fold. And so by doing that, they're saying, hey, I want my locals here, and for her, the guys that actually already grow weed. So in creating those policies, you have a lot of what prevents sort of consolidations and MSOs. So what we're seeing some people, the ones that are really doing it effectively are from California and Florida. And it's just because they're funded. They just have so much money that they can pull off. Like, well, you know what, if I can only have 5 stores, that's only okay. And if I can only have, if I can only do a producing processor, then that's all okay. But even then, they're very limited how far they can reach into different states. I think the biggest price of licensing agreements.
Yeah, we do see a lot of licensing agreements as a convenient way to allow MSOs to operate and keep the name.
Right.
Aaron, I did have my last question for you is banking and insurance. I'm giving you all the easy words.
It just doesn't exist. So we do have banking. It's all credit unions. People always get so upset. I know it's like when we look at the numbers and how much potential there is for money to be made in cannabis, whether it's CBD or hemp or THC and marijuana. And banks are just like, that's nothing. That's not even the drop inside the bucket. It's just not worth the risk for them, the possibility of creating the risk for them, or even the thought of the risk. Banks don't like cannabis so much that I can't get a bank account with a bank because I work with cannabis companies. They don't want to work with people that work with people that work with cannabis. They call us the tier 3s. I'm a tier 2, so that works right with. But even people that work with me can have a problem with working with banking. And so I actually had 2 banks before I went to the same bank that my clients go to, because there are credit unions that will accept us, and they, and I don't like banks either. Really, like I show up with cash because my clients can't get banks. If you don't get into one of the 2 banks, Salal or Timberland, and in Oregon it's OB, and there's another one in California. There's 2 in California also. But if you can't get into one of those, you say something wrong in your application, you're dealing cash going forward. Because when you pay me correct, then now I'm taking $20 bills that smell like weed to a bank. It's just they don't want that. They don't need the headaches. They don't want it. So we have limitations in banking. Insurance is much better because they love risk. They deal with risk. They just find a way to finance it. So it's less of a problem to find insurance. But we've had players come in now. Main Street's in now. They have a major insurer. Everybody has a different brand on it. But for a while, the only thing we had was who's the guy that insured people's fingers for piano players? Lloyd's of London was the only thing you could get to start out with when we first came on for legalization in Washington. And they lasted about 8 months, and then there was that. But we did insurance. That exists. It's terrible. It's wildly overpriced.
Banking and insurance.
Right.
Yes, question.
You mentioned credit unions. Are they not under the purview of the Office of Supervision? Like how? I'm curious as to why credit unions are able to.
There was
I'm sorry, I'll repeat the question for Karen. The question is why credit unions versus a bank?
Because banks won't do it, credit unions will. I think because they're smart and willing to take a risk, it's something worthwhile to them. There's a document on there's a FinCEN memo that came out with the opt-in memo back when they basically said this is all legal, but we're going to let states have the grand experiment. And there was a memo that came out that kind of supported the same idea for banks and also for tribal lands, but the banks just still took a hard pass on the whole thing. They're not interested. Yeah, please.
Interstate commerce.
Okay.
So the credit unions don't go across states, and so when you do that, you're taking a different risk than if you are a bank like one of the top 5 you think of for being a bank. Those are all fully state, and so then your state commerce sort of pulls them out, and they have full teams devoted to understanding this industry internally, because they're big enough that can do that. But the challenge is every state has its own internal credit unions that don't go across state that then allow them to do maneuvering rooms, maneuvering ability to do with legalize.
If the banking is not, I'm sorry, you have a question?
Yeah, is there now some discussion in Congress about creating safe harbors? Where are we with that? What kind of legislation would have to be promulgated, to allow sensible banking to the marijuana industry? It's legal in all these states. You're forced to deal in cash. That has all sorts of risks. Can we eliminate that? Where do we stand? What are the politics? What's the timeline and something like that?
I'll repeat the question. The question was, what if any legislation is pending to address the dearth of banking opportunities for cannabis and cannabis-related businesses? I will allow the panelists to respond to the States Act. I see both of them chomping at the bit. But I will say that Colorado, which is quite progressive and much further along in the cannabis process than Washington, got so ticked off at the lack of banking that they have cannabis financial cooperatives purely to serve the cannabis industry. You have to be a resident of the state of Colorado. You have to be a cannabis license holder in the state of Colorado. And bammo, you have your own little baby bank. Easy. Why Washington will not do the same thing confounds me. Why California won't do the same thing confounds me. If the system isn't working, change the system. If they did it in Colorado, and it's working, it's functional, and people can have a bank account in Colorado. Washington is so far behind everybody else. I'll leave the panelists to address the federal attempts at banking reform.
So there was a Senate hearing, I believe, maybe 10 days ago, the first time that they had reached that point. So it's a huge marker that they're willing to hear on that. So between the Safe Harbor Act and the States Act, for insurance, it's really interesting because if you have crop loss insurance, that's fascinating. How do you determine your 2015 Blue Dream value versus indoor, outdoor, farm to farm? Right? It's kind of a fascinating aspect. But for banking, which is going to revolutionize everything from scaling, automation, expansion, and so forth, hopefully is going to move forward. Again, I think because of revenue and the opportunity that we're seeing. In terms of the time frame, I think they're going to continue to move forward with that bill. We know when, but just the fact that they met recently is a huge milestone and indicator that things are moving forward.
Adam, anything to
I'd say within 5 years.
Aaron chimes in with 5 years. And think about it for a moment. The IRS office is downtown 2nd Avenue. Have anyone here been to the IRS office? Hopefully not. If you're a cannabis business, you are lining up around the corner on every Friday with backpacks of cash. Because federal law requires you pay your employment taxes every 2 weeks. You have a bank account. How are you supposed to write them a check? How are you supposed to electronically transfer the funds to the IRS? You're not. You're lining up around the corner with bags of cash. The IRS, they don't want it. The IRS, this office right here, Seattle downtown on 2nd Avenue, has had to hire 14 people to count the money.
For Tuesday.
on Tuesday. It used to be Friday. People found out that it was Friday and they started coming, so they moved it to Tuesday to prevent crime. It is a joke. The lack of banking is a joke, and it affects every aspect of the industry, including the federal government that has to hire IRS people to sit there and count $20 bills that smell like weed. It doesn't help anybody at all. Any comments about banking as a cannabis ancillary?
We, knock on wood, been pretty lucky. We see that and we're very out there about what we do, and given the ancillary business nature, we've been lucky to date to not have to go through a lot of the headaches that other people have to. And probably a lot to do with the fact that we have customers in all areas of our business, whether it's growing food or growing the roses that you buy every year. So, knock on wood.
I venture to say it might have something to do with the fact that the name of his business isn't Joe's Dank Weed, but I'm guessing. I have a question today.
Sure. So given we're creating thousandaires and not millionaires, I guess it's more for Josh and Adam. Where's the kind of highest return on investment in this part of the process? So where do you want to be in this structure? If it's a commodity, it could potentially be federalized, and then you have consolidation. Ultimately, if I'm thinking the next 10 years as an investor, where do I want to be in this supply chain?
The question is, where in the supply chain do I want to place my investment funds to maximize my return?
Play the full gamut. I would actually look at an emerging market like Boston and try to do seed to sale, to do the production, the manufacturing, the retail, and then there's other licenses that are valuable as well, distribution, cloning, etc., marijuana lounges. So I think that the fully integrated opportunities that exist are the way to go. Obviously, we've seen in Washington super competitive when they're separated versus other areas like Colorado that have better opportunities. And so if you're going to dive in and you can't write code, maybe you can get involved at some aspect along the way in a producer, processor, retailer atmosphere, and plug yourself in whatever your subject matter expertise is and add some value. First thing that I would add though is that the cannabis industry doesn't need you. There's a lot of people who think that they can jump in and add some value. I think that the industry is mature in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of people who come in thinking that they're going to make an influence. I think if an individual can come in and add value, that's great. If you have tech or coding capabilities, sky's the limit. There's a lot of opportunities, automation that they're doing, and data, right? We're seeing that data is the second largest investment vehicle, and that's a huge open area with technology and products and the way that people consume. The volcano vaporizer is really, really old school. It's been around for decades, and yet there's still not a lot of portable vaporizers on the market that are drawing as much attention as something that's that old. And so, as you've seen with your own apps, you're giving away everything. You're giving away a lot of data. What can you do with that data? One of the companies I really like here locally is Hedge. I'm a fan of data, and so what you can do with that to add value. Gary Vee is a huge promoter about, jab, right hook, give value, and offer something. And so if you can take a product like data that Headset is offering and turn around and give that to your clients, for example, their basket analysis report will show you that on Fridays between hours of 3 and 5, edible companies are selling a third of their product during that period alone. And if you don't have your inventory on Friday between 3 and 5, you're not selling very much. And also, 1 out of every 3 baskets had a joint. And And so again, knowing what your inventory control is on the granular level, knowing that your flavor profile can be in this zip code or that zip code is huge. So I think if you have the capabilities to write some code and get into data and take that data, compile some reports and make some interesting information available to producers and processors specifically, there's not a lot of options for them right now, and they're struggling. So a lot of it is the retailer. How do you sell? Where do you sell? All of that. But what about the producer and processor? So for any tech companies out there that can offer data and give them some kind of future leading economic indicator for them to be able to take advantage of that on what strain or cultivar, what's going to happen in the fall time. For example, we see an uptick with hot chocolates and seasonal products, right? So using that data, compiling it, getting it back to producer processors, I think is a huge opportunity.
Thank you.
So, if you're going to go small and invest small, stay small. If you go big, if you invest big, go big. But don't be small and then think that it's okay to go to meeting, and don't be big and then try to be a niche brand, because no one will leave. Who made money in the gold rush? There's your answer. Who made money with prohibition ended? There's your answer. Study the patterns of history, and they'll tell you the pattern of the future. For us, for what we do, instead of the data, we do yield forecasting, right? That's something that innately you do, okay, that's a feature. But now you know when it's coming, what's coming, how much is coming, and you can tell people, you can do specials, you can do marketing. So all this pricing leverage comes from that simple thing. Not simple fact, because we're in the computer, it's not the concept is simple. So if you're going to make bets in ones that you think are going to win long term, and you think have margin long term. So when it comes to those bets, be willing to wait it out, because right now, when you do your research, you're going to find a lot of noise. You're going to find a lot of people who have lots to say, and not always a lot behind what they have to say. We've been through a few flushes, I call it. We're probably going to do another couple of flushings, if you will, where we flush out a lot of talk and not a lot of walk. There's a lot of people who, from my perspective, who in my business, very personal to me, who suffocated my thought space about what I do. And we talk about this all the time internally at our company, because we're getting suffocated by a bunch of people who say a lot of the same stuff we do, but they don't do anything we do. And the talk is cheap. So beware of that black hole, which sucks everything out, and that leaves no room for the actual doers. So that's where you really have to uncover and dig through a couple layers. It's very easy to put up a website, have a couple layers of depth, but go one layer deeper. Wait till you ask questions of people or companies that you're looking with resources to, right? This is for life when it comes to what you have a capital allocation game. Go to the point where you feel in depth enough where people start to feel a little squirmy, because then you really know you get something. Because everyone can put up a website, anyone can put up social media, anyone can buy followers, anyone can take photos, anyone can show a nice chart and graph that looks good, and none of that can be true. And so get past those layers, and that'll show you who's real and who's not, and that'll allow you to really make a bet, and then do everything you can to put your finger on the scale. Just however you can help, be helpful. If you're talking about small businesses, you can be very helpful. If you're talking about large businesses, try to find a way to make connections with people and be helpful. At the end of the day, if you put your dollar to work, and you have your little army of little dollars everywhere, right? You put that army to work, then you come back and capture a bunch more dollars, bring them back here. that whole process means that you need to be willing to put your bear on the scale, especially in an industry like this right now. You want to go invest in something that's very investable and been around for 200 years. Those patterns are a lot more visible, a lot easier. This one requires a little bit more active work to understand it. So before you make that.
I'd like to also add a personal perspective on that. I actually am an angel investor in cannabis. I have made 11 cannabis investments in the last 4 years or so. And I diversify just like any other market investor. I invested in a farm. I invested in a wholesale B2B sales platform. I invested in a software company. I invested in a streaming media company. I invested in an airline. All of it is cannabis. All of it. And some of them have done fairly well. Some of them have been catastrophic failures, just like any other investment. My advice to you would be know what you're doing. If you are going to buy a farm, know the vocabulary and know what the basic requirements of the farm are. If you don't know anything about farming, don't invest in a farm. If you don't know anything about a software company, don't invest in a software company. If your hobby is tracking data, and then maybe you really want to be investing in a marketing company or a data company, just go with what you know and be comfortable with it. And do, as Adam said, do your due diligence and make sure you understand there are bad actors in any industry. You can have a horrible auto mechanic that's going to rip you off, but there are also bad actors in the cannabis industry, in the medical industry. It doesn't matter, any industry. So make sure you know what you're doing before you write the check. And it holds for any investment, any.
We've seen a producer down near Vancouver, Washington, that had invested $1 million in a facility and could produce a single gram. You need to know what you're doing. And then on the flip side, up in Canada, Canada just fired their CEO. Bruce was let go because he was an amazing deal maker, but those deals didn't generate revenue. So no matter what you're doing, even if you think it makes sense and there's, quote, synergy, that needs to generate revenue. You have shareholders at this point. You have a fiduciary duty to generate the highest return on investment.
I have a comment on these two questions. It's part of my due diligence process. I was running around looking at all these possibilities. And I don't mean to disrespect these people in any way, shape, or form, but they had made $1 billion at Amazon. A lot of people have made $1 billion at Amazon. It doesn't make them special. They went and said, I'm going to play cannabis. They do not know the difference between THC and CBD. Why are you playing with cannabis? I'm going to hire my way around these problems. I have the best master grower ever. First crop failed. Oh, master grower? Now I know what master grower means. I'm going to hire a qualified master grower the second time. Brought in second master grower. Oh, your problem is the lights. You have the wrong lights. Spent $300,000 on lights for the second master grower. Entire crop failure. Why? Must be the master grower. So they fired the master grower, brought in the third master grower. Oh, hey, we're going to grow on pallets. And this is how I grow because it's the best, because I'm the master grower and I know what we're doing. These Amazon billionaires are 3 years in, 3 crop failures, and they have not produced a single packaged product. They're no longer Amazon billionaires. Now they're like, this was how I was going to put my kids through school. guess what? Public school for those guys. It's sad. It's sad. But know what you're doing. I had a question.
So I come from a banking background, so it's related, something related to that. So between the regulators and the bank, there's auditors. And is there any opportunity in this industry? I don't know much about this industry, but is there any opportunity in this industry where there is companies who focus completely on auditing these cannabis companies? And what's the growth around that, and what's the prospect of that?
The question to the panel is there any organized business around auditing cannabis companies, and what the opportunities and potential growth for auditing cannabis companies is? Anna, I'm going to let you field that one.
I've seen a few companies that have come up that do auditing. The key part about auditing is kind of a lot of times they'll come as consultants, which is a terrifying word as an insurance, because they basically give legal advice without any malpractice insurance. So I tend not to buy consultants as a general rule, but I can't prevent it from being in the industry. But a lot of if you were to do that, most of the time, if you're looking for that type of input, it oftentimes has to do with more regulatory issues. I want to make sure that I'm in compliance with whatever my state regulatory agency requires me to do. But it's not that, I just don't think that hard to follow the rules. Some people find it more challenging than others. Most of these people are former outlaws, so they find it challenging just to pay their taxes. But at the end of the day, a lot of times they just need somebody to kind of get in there. They need to wear and they need an account. You know, that's your consultants. Those are your compliance people in my mind. But I'm sure, like I said, I've seen a few companies that pop up and they're like, we're going to come in, we'll audit your company, we'll make sure you're following the rules, you're wearing your name tags, your cameras are working, that you're following all the banking rules. There's a couple of groups that have popped up, but I haven't seen anybody with any sort of staying power.
I want to echo that as well. There's an interesting company out of Vancouver, BC. They went to Sacramento to try and get the state to give them a license to be the main auditor. I've been waiting for one to come online for 4 or 5 years. I think it's an amazing opportunity to have a compliance software company that can have additional formatting and send you alerts to either your POS or your mobile. I think that from a technology standpoint, that's a huge opportunity. And again, people would subscribe to that just for peace of mind and compliance purposes, but there isn't anybody who's taking over that market for whatever reason.
Part of the problem with compliance and auditing, the regs change every day. So if you're a consultant, you're an auditor, and the way you're going to make money is create a template and just print that template out for $1,000. If you have to change the template every day, every week, every month, different states, there's just not a lot of money in it. Now, if you're a CPA and you will touch cannabis, you have people knocking on the door. Same thing with attorneys. There's just not a lot of attorneys that will do it. But as far as auditing, we're just not there yet, but that's part of the nascent aspect of the industry as a whole, that the regs can change considerably and rapidly. So it's kind of hard to replicate the model for an auditor.
Just kind of a random question, but it was sparked by your comments about master growers. Where do you find experts in this field that are master growers? To your point, there's probably a lot of people that think they can do it that can't. And so if you're not one of the bigger players where you can kind of identify and scale this, then how do you find a master grower that's actually good?
The question is, how do you find qualified individuals to perform various tasks in this industry, and with specific reference to master grower? And I would say, if you are an owner of a company running a farm and you can't be a master grower yourself, or you don't already know where to find a master grower, stop now. There are staffing agencies out there. There's various cannabis staffing agencies that hire professionals with a specific focus on the chemists and the extractors, high-level skilled individuals. Master grower, there's no piece of paper, there's no university, there's no degree that says I'm a master grower. So I would be looking at somebody who actually knows something about plants. But you have a whole plethora of people that have been growing cannabis on the black market, for lack of a better term, for decades that can take a look at this and say, oh yeah, that's this problem. And they're qualified without a piece of paper. So my recommendation for qualified individuals would be to look at staffing agencies and vet. Call the references, confirm that they actually work for this farm, and then what do they do on the farm? Master grower, or do they sweep the floor? They were a trimmer, really? Hand trimmer, or do they just dump the bushel into the machine? It's all part of due diligence, just like any other business. If you hire an auto mechanic, you want to make sure the auto mechanic knows how to work on a car. Sometimes there's a piece of paper associated with that. Sometimes you bring the mechanic in and say, hey, fix this thing.
5 years ago, there was no way to figure it out, right? So like everyone on that was like the best grower, watching their say. It was like a joke back there. Of course you are. But now we do have some pedigree, right? We have something to look back on, but it still falls back on that same thing that we're talking about.
Forgive me. This is the oldest profession in the entire world.
Yeah.
Where do you find somebody who knows how to cultivate plants? It is the most studied, oldest profession in the entire history of mankind. There hasn't been more studied things in our humanity existence than the idea of plants. So, where do we find a marketing term for somebody who knows how to grow plants? If you're different than the marketing term, there are lots of universities that have amazing horticultural degrees for how to do perennials and annuals. And if you're going to set something up and you want to get somebody who knows what they're doing, get a master's in horticultural science, and IPM, integrated pest management. IPM is incredibly important. It's a whole degree, and it can be studied, and it's the most important, and the best growers I've seen in the cannabis industry have an IPM master's degree. And so there's subsets, there are more books on plants probably than any other thing in the world. And so if you're going to bring somebody in, there's also an arbitrage opportunity, because those master's students who just graduated, they'll probably get $75,000 a year. If you go to a cannabis company, you get $250,000 a year as a master grower for a $300 million company that's probably 2 years. Right? So the recipe can be many different ways. If I were to start from the bottom, I would take somebody who has 2 decades growing perennials and annuals, who has a master's degree in IPM or local science, and I'd go hire a consultant. There's probably 20 or 30 in the entire nation that are incredibly good at turning cannabis companies around, have a track record. I'd hire that consultant to work with the perennial and annual grower with that master's in IPM. I put them together, and I said, the consultant will be here for 6 months, and I'd say to the grower, you're going to be here for 4 years, otherwise you pay me back your sign bonus. And that's how I set it up.
With an extraction, that's a little bit more niche, and so there's some opportunities to look at, again, first mover advantages. So folks that started on the West Coast have been making 6 figures for a long time. You know, the Mike West of the world and the Jim Acosos of the world that were doing extraction 5 years ago are the industry's leaders in that niche. And so you find them through publications, whether it's a kind of science publication or maybe MJ Business. You know, Jim Acoso was on the front cover in November last year during MJ BizCon. And so I was just looking at industry publications maybe for opportunity to look at who's doing what, who's good at it.
I personally want to thank Adam for teaching me something. I didn't know that there was a master's IPM degree, so thank you. Now I know to take this one. I have a question.
Well, since you guys all give likelihood of federalization pretty high or eminently happening, and then you mentioned, somebody in Brazil, so then in that case, is there any sense in really investing in the agricultural side here in the U.S., or would it, if we want to invest, get a large farm or back a large farm in Brazil or another country with no more agricultural produce?
So the question is, once it's federally legal, won't it ultimately be internationally legal, and should I invest in agriculture of any sort in cannabis in the United States? And I'm going to answer that question myself, and I showed you the panel. We don't grow bananas in the United States, but we still eat bananas. We don't grow avocados in the United States, but we still eat avocados. It comes down to the cost of goods sold and what the market will bear. So maybe you're buying tomatoes at Safeway from Yakima in August. In February, those tomatoes are not coming from Yakima. It's an agricultural commodity. Where I see the issue is, especially in Canada and Colombia, the United States is so far behind cannabis growth, cannabis development, cannabis investment, cannabis banking, cannabis import, cannabis export. The United States, it's almost too late for the United States to compete on a global scale, in my opinion. When you have 400,000 square foot grows in Canada, and you have million square foot grows in Colombia, they're not growing for the Canadians and the Colombians, they're growing for the United States. How they're getting it there, they were dropping it today. Their black market's been around for a very long time. But the sad truth is, the United States cannot ultimately compete on price, just like bananas and avocados.
To your point, Colombia will be the big box store for extracts, in my opinion. I think Colombia will be kind of a Walmart of concentrate. But that's not going to stop people in the U.S. from the micro brews, if you will. The macro brews will be in Colombia, but who wants to consume that? A lot of people, but I think their margins will be higher. The 80-20 rule, right? So I think you still have a small minority of people that have a discerning customer palate that will pay more for a higher quality product. And I think the United States is an awesome opportunity from a valuation perspective. There's very few companies outside of Curaleaf that are overinflated because let me use an example like Coinbase. If you know anything about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, there's a phenomenon in which when the platform Coinbase offers new cryptocurrencies, there's an exponential spike in the demand. And so I think that the U.S. is about to have that same analogy, whereas when the legality happens, those valuations will spike due to the availability. Once there's a platform like the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, or just an open market for you to be able to invest in, that's when the speculation will occur. We don't even have speculation yet because you don't even know where the opportunities lie. So when the platform presents itself, there will be speculation. The United States will see a massive bubble and it will pop, and a lot of people will lose billions. But I wouldn't discount the U.S. I think what you're seeing in Canada is going to happen in the U.S. Now, a lot of these Canadian LPs are expecting the price to remain at $1.70 to $1.74 wholesale. And I think that we're going to see prices as low as 7 to 8 cents. Now, the reason I say that is because I've been looking at the market for 5 years. I go to 20 stores on April 20th. It's the #1 sales day of the year, so it's a good opportunity for me to see on a very small data set, where are those sales prices, what's being sold, how much, so that I can come back and take a look 2 years later and then realize that those sales prices are now the discount store's everyday price. Okay, so 18 months to 2 years later, that 420 sales price is now, a discount store's everyday price. And so if you can take a look at trends and anomalies, the future is going to be just like Canada with its valuation. I think there's an awesome opportunity. You can invest wisely in the U.S. You'll see similar rises in market caps that we've seen with Canadian LPs, even though the advantage long-term is with countries like Colombia that can produce amazing product with the agricultural landscape that we don't have, with labor costs that we can't even compete with. When was the last time that you saw any individual rolling a cigar in the United States? It's been a century, and yet locally we have a company that had 18 people manufacturing pre-rolls, which is crazy. And then they just got replaced, all of them, which is a good opportunity to reallocate your human capital to a better position like Salesforce with automation. They literally got a pre-roll robot out of Israel that makes 33 pre-rolls a minute. One person can manage 2 of those machines. So now you have quite a few people that you can get out and increase your sales. But I don't think the international market is going to play a part. I think there's going to be a demand for a higher quality for more discerning customer.
Adam, do you have any comments about international cannabis coming on the United States market?
The regulatory climate, no matter how legal anything becomes, generally takes care of itself, especially in today's climate. So if you look at how we regulate a lot of our other highly regulated goods, even if they're legal or not legal, my point is if you look at the legal ones, you're still going to find the regulation drives a lot of the outcomes. And when it comes down to bureaucrats, what gets them elected is doing things for the community, by the community, reinvesting in the community. So I don't see that. It's been that way for thousands of years, and I don't see that changing now.
Okay, we're wrapping up. I have the last question, and I'm going to start with Aaron with the easiest. Aaron, is there an opinion you used to hold 18 months ago that is no longer true?
18 months ago, I know what. I would have, 18 months ago, Washington State liquor and cannabis board was the biggest threat to the cannabis industry in Washington State. I would believe that 18 months ago. But somehow the industry surprisingly got themselves together and actually declawed the Washington State cannabis board, because one of the big things in the regulatory industry is they don't want, they have to vet all the money that goes in. So if you spend $100 from your own checking account to cover payroll, that's actually considered a violation. You can get arrested for both for that. And that kind of nonsense actually got lobbyists involved in the legislature, changed the rules to get the LCB or the Liquor and Cannabis Board to lighten up. So I would consider that a change.
It is possible. The LCB can be here. Adam, same question. Did you have an opinion 18 months ago that you no longer hold today related to cannabis?
So, my opinions change constantly, and I think that's important news. Of course, I'm always going to change opinions based on new data. So, given that, I believe that the industry would have consolidated in a different way than it actually has. Just because a lot of the places that look like they're independent aren't. A good example is the MSOs, a bunch of retailers, the way that they're regulated, you can have a name that's the same name in another state. And so then you have all these people with the same ownership, it's all the same dollars, they're the same people, but they have a different mascot. And that's not how it works. So it's not all the money, but just changed, it looks sick. And so I think in the last 18 months I've been surprised how, I shouldn't have been, but I've been surprised on how easy that has become and how poorly done the regs were, because at that point might as well just let everybody in. So I don't think that they want so the name isn't the same as the one in the other state. Might as well just let them use the same name. Why? Because it's Swiss cheese. And so I think I was surprised to see how fast the MSOs grew, multi-state operators grew, and how easy it was for them to pick up their presence that they did. And that's probably going to make it easier for them to have a huge coverage of licenses. Another example is in that same extension is watching them pick up locations that I never would have believed the city would have allowed us to go. And so next to a product store, you're sitting there going, surprised, right? So that makes me surprised.
All right, Josh. Any opinions you had 18 months ago that you don't want to read?
Yeah, 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, I made a controversial comment. I said that brands don't exist in the cannabis space. I lost some clients over that opinion, and I still think that was valid. I think actually that I've been validated in some ways, because the number one question that's asked for bud tenders is, what's the highest THC you have within my budget? What's the highest THC you have at the lowest price? And it's not about giving you fat panda. It's not. If it is, it's because they've asked that question, what's the highest THC at the lowest price, so many times that somebody said fat panda. So what they're getting is the effect they want at their budget they can afford. They're not getting the product they want. They're not getting the experience they want. We talk about diversification. I think it's about a unique experience. If you can't offer a unique experience that's going to get people to come back, you don't really have a product. You just have a vehicle in which gives people an effect. And that can be supplemented very, very easily. We saw that in the LaCroix lawsuit with artificial terpenes. And so Bubbly became a competitor. And so I think that brands are starting to become a thing now. I think it's starting to change, and so my opinion is shifting to where brands are starting to matter. But that's simply because the repeat customers have made their decision on what they can afford. I still think there's an opportunity for brands to come in and actually do a better job and take that market share over. But again, the comment I made 18 months ago about brands not really being a thing in the cannabis industry is starting to evolve to the point now where brands are starting to matter. I think the CBD issue is going to be a disaster. All of those mom and pop companies who think they have a brand are kidding themselves because all you have is an ingredient, and that is all. And so they're going to go to the wayside by the millions, whereas the cannabis companies have a higher cost to entry, barrier to entry, and so there's some more, I guess, advantages our companies are going to stay around long term and create those brands. But it's going to cost a lot of money. Again, if you don't have the capital to produce a gram and stay in business, if you think that it's going to stay at $1.70 and it's 8 cents, how are you going to do business? So that brand is starting to see that mature.
but 18 months ago, I didn't grant that.
And I will answer the question last of what opinion did I hold 18 months ago that I no longer have. 18 months ago, I thought that I would be a billionaire, rolling around in so much piles of money, and somebody would literally follow me around just to carry my purse because I'm so lazy. Not true. In fact, in order to help one of my investments, I went to work for one of them. And you know what my job is? Sweeping the floor. 18 months ago, I was going to be rolling around in so much money that I was going to have somebody follow me around just to carry my purse. And this morning, I was sweeping the floor. I was wrong. Thank you very much. We will hang out, and if you have questions, please feel free to come up and ask questions away. We are here to answer your questions. So thank you very much, and thank you, panel.